Now, finally, I'll go into a group of women who hear about this whole, you're not feminist thing a lot. The Disney princesses. Now, I'll briefly go over why this is wrong for all of them. Even the ones I personally dislike. And trust me, I dislike a bunch of them. Especially the first couple, with the exception of Aurora. Snow White. I mean, she is the least progressive of all the Disney princesses. And while she does wait for her prince to come, she takes charge of 7 dwarves and teaches them discipline and how to cut loose a little bit. I mean, she takes an active role. And this is in like the 20s. I mean, at that time, just her living in a house with 7 men was progressive enough. I mean, she's not afraid to tell them what to do. She's a strong woman, but in the more housewifey form, which isn't in a whole a bad thing. Cinderella. Now, Cindy was not prince crazy. In fact, the prince isn't even a factor until near the end of the movie. So people who say that she just wanted a prince are wrong. She didn't. She just wanted to go and have fun and relax after working her ass off on a daily basis. Basically, she wanted to go to prom, but in form of a big ball. I mean, she's witty and sarcastic, and she has a good heart. And she didn't even have to be nice. If I was Cinderella, I would have poisoned the stepmother and stepsisters. I mean, how are they going to know? But she didn't. She was good and she was kind to them. She's a true survivor, and while she's not my favorite by any stretch of the imagination, she's an example of a strong woman who doesn't have to be physically powerful to be strong. She's emotionally strong. And that's just as noble as being physically strong. Not everyone can be Mulan. Not everyone can be Buffy. Aurora or Sleeping Beauty. Even though she's going to lose the love of her life in this movie, she's willing to sacrifice her happiness for the greater good of her people, her family, for whatever she has to do to be with them, because she doesn't even know her parents. She could just say, they neglected me, they abandoned me, they gave me to you, I have no loyalty to them. She could just do what Ariel does and just say, no, I'm going to do what I want. But she's willing to sacrifice her happiness for other people, and that would in itself is a noble thing to do. And yeah, she doesn't have a very active role in the movie, but in return, we get one of the greatest Disney female characters ever, Maleficent, who is more badass than most of the other male villains on Disney. So I think it's a good trade-off, a better villainess for a subpar princess. And I like Aurora. Ariel. Okay, my least favorite princess out of all of them. So this will be hard, but here it goes. Ariel has no problem standing up for herself, and in the first quarter of the movie, she's just trying to find out more about the world above her. I mean, yes, she's pretty much useless throughout most of the movie, but she does save Eric in the beginning. And when her father is turned into a creature by Ursula, she has a very shortly lived badass moment where she goes all growly and then goes to rip off Ursula's hair. She gets pawned, but it was badass nonetheless. And just the fact that, she is the princess of an entire ocean. Eric is the prince of a little island. If they ever get into a fight, she can just call Daddy and have him tsunami the whole place. So, she has her moment. She's independent. Stupidly independent a little bit, but she's independent and not afraid to take risks. Jasmine. The biggest complaint I hear for Jasmine is that she's a slut. I don't know how she can be a slut since she's only involved with one guy. But then again, whenever a woman's unafraid of her sexuality, she is a slut. God forbid she uses her sexuality to help her boyfriend to basically try and do the right thing. But no, because she is a slut, she's being pimped out by Aladdin. Right, because that makes perfect sense, people. I don't understand. She is strong. She's independent. She stands up to her father. She stands up to Jafar. She says that she will never bow to him. She tricks him to try and help her boyfriend, even though she had to kiss that disgusting... Well, Jafar's not disgusting, but in her mind, he was. And yet, because she's a sexual being, and because she has curves and decides to show midriff, she's automatically painted as a slut. Belle. Apparently, Belle is a battered woman who with a tacked-on love for reading as a character trait, and the Beast is an abusive bastard. Okay, from the beginning, it is established that the Beast snaps at everyone and goes into temper tantrums when Belle pulls that whole Bluebeard in the West Wing. Does Belle stay and cry? No, she gets the fuck out. She only comes back because the Beast risked his life to save her, and she decides to help him. I mean, what's she gonna do, leave him there in the snow to bleed out? Besides, when she gets back, and the Beast tries to be a smartass, she chews him out. She says, well, if you hadn't scared me off, I wouldn't have left, would I? And she changes him, and she was like, oh, she just changed the man so she could be with him. No. She didn't even try to change him. She was just telling him, you know what, if you didn't have a temper, I wouldn't have left in the first place, and you wouldn't have that cut on your face, would you, bastard? And then I also hear that she doesn't matter and because she doesn't help out in the final battle. She lets Gaston fall to his death instead of trying to save him and Beast. That's a very villainous thing to do. That's pretty dark for a Disney princess. She helps the Beast. She could also help Gaston. She's like, no, I don't give a shit about you. You can just fall. And not to mention in Kingdom Hearts, when Bella's captured, she elbows the guy and helps freeze the Beast. She's a badass nerd. Now, Mulan. I cannot even contemplate how people can bash Mulan just because she has a love interest. She saves her love interest. She kicks him in the face. What more do you want? Not to mention she blows up a mountain. A mountain. How many women do you know who have blown up mountains? And for Tiana, the newest Disney princess, who I didn't think I was going to like, but I ended up loving her very much. Because she's a cook, and that's woman's work, that's uninteresting to them. Never mind that, a lot of the most successful chefs in the world are men. I mean, tell that to Chef Gordon Ramsay from Hell's Kitchen and see what he says about him doing woman's work. Not to mention, she doesn't cook food for Navi. She says, get off your ass and mince so you can cook food. She's trying to start her own business and be her own boss. In the 1920s, as a minority, in the 1920s, Louisiana, the South. What exactly do you want? Alright, in closing, just because the character is not an action girl does not make her not a feminist. Bella Swan is not a feminist because she believes herself to be unworthy of both her love interests, and because she spends the entire book gawking over him like a sick puppy. She has no interest besides Edward. Even Ariel enjoyed playing with the stupid forks. What makes a woman not a feminist is that she doesn't believe that she is equal to a man. And none of those girls that I have mentioned before, with the exception of Bella Swan, has shown that trait. Therefore, how can they be not feminists? Just because you decide that you want to cook and clean and not go out and join the army does not make you a worse person than the person out in the army. Not everyone can be Xena. Not everyone can be Mulan. That's just one standard. And just because a woman can fight crime in heels, you don't say, what's wrong with you? You give her an applause, because I've tried to run in high heels, and that is some hard work. That's all I have to say for that topic, and I'll see you guys later.